Captain
unlock
Claire's jet
confirmed! Hold
exploded
on!
midair, and she fell into the
now,
ocean
take
with a
up
dog
this!
ranger strapped to her chest. But surviving the crash wasn't the miracle. The miracle was this. Someone was already waiting on the sea to finish her. If you ever believed in power of surviving, the quiet strength of a dog, take a moment to like. And subscribe. Stories like this remind us how one small act can change everything. The first thing Captain Claire Mitchell remembered was the sound of metal screaming like it was alive. Not the normal scream of a fighter jet pushing past the wind. No, this was different. This was the sound of the sky breaking open and trying to swallow her whole. The cockpit shook violently. Lights blinked red across her instrument panel like blood. Warning, warning, fire. Claire's hands tightened on the controls as she fought to stabilize the aircraft. Come on, baby, don't die on me. Beside her seat was a reinforced K9 crate, bolted to the frame like a promise that nothing could shake it loose. Inside it, her dog Ranger whined. Not a soft whimper. A warning. Claire glanced quickly. Ranger's eyes weren't panicked. They were focused. His ears were stiff. His body was tense, like he could sense something the radar couldn't. You seeing ghosts again? Claire muttered, forcing a small smile. We're fine. Then, beep, beep, beep. The cockpit alarm changed pitch. The new sound hit her like a slap. Claire's smile vanished. Her eyes snapped to the display. Missile lock. What the hell? Claire barked. Control. This is Raven 2-1. I'm getting missile lock in training airspace. Confirm? Only static answered. Claire's stomach tightened. She flicked the comms again. Control? Control. Respond. More static. Ranger barked once. Sharp. Angry. Claire turned her head toward the windshield. That's when she saw it. A jet, low and fast, appeared out of nowhere on her flank. Too close. Too aggressive. Not the standard formation for training. Claire's pulse spiked. That's not one of ours. She pushed the throttle and tried to break away. But the other jet moved like it predicted her. Matched her speed. Matched her turn. Then came a flash. A dark streak slicing through the clouds. Claire's brain screamed the truth before her mouth could form the words. Missile! She yanked the stick. The jet rolled. The G-force slammed her body down. Ranger howled inside the crate. Then, boom! The explosion was so violent that Claire's vision went white. The aircraft split like cracked bone. A wave of heat punched her lungs. Her oxygen system died. Smoke burst into the cockpit. Claire coughed, eyes watering, fighting to stay conscious. She hit the eject button. Nothing happened. No. Come on, she screamed. She hit it again. Still nothing. The jet pitched downward violently, spiraling toward the ocean below. Claire's heart slammed against her ribs. If she went down like this, no one would ever find her. And Ranger? Ranger would die trapped beside her. Claire turned, choking on smoke, and looked at him. He stared back, not confused, not helpless, just loyal, and waiting for her. Claire felt a crack in her chest she couldn't explain, because she had faced enemy fire before. But she had never once feared dying, until she realized she wouldn't die alone, not with him. Ranger, she coughed, voice breaking. Listen to me, boy. I'm not leaving you here. The cockpit flared with fire. The alarms screamed like sirens at the gates of hell. Claire unstrapped. Pain stabbed her shoulder as the jet jerked again. She crawled to Ranger's crate and pulled the emergency latch. The crate refused. Heat had warped the lock. She yanked again. Still stuck. Her eyes widened with panic. Please, please, open. Ranger pressed his muzzle against the gate and whined. Claire used her boot and slammed the latch. Once, twice, 3 times. It finally cracked open. Ranger burst out and climbed on her lap, paws scrambling. Claire wrapped him tightly against her chest, using the safety straps to secure him. The jet dropped faster. The sea looked closer now, blue and endless, beautiful and deadly. Claire looked at the shattered canopy. If she jumped without ejecting, she could be ripped apart. If she stayed, they both burned. She stared at the flames, then at Ranger. Ranger licked her chin like he was saying, "Do it." Claire swallowed hard. "You trust me?" she whispered. Ranger barked once. Claire nodded. Okay. Then we jumped together." She crawled toward the broken canopy. Wind roared in, grabbing her hair, slapping her face. Her fingers gripped the edge. Her body trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of the moment. People think bravery is not being afraid, but real bravery is being afraid and jumping anyway. Claire took one last breath. Then she launched herself out. The air hit her like a wall. For half a second, she felt weightless, falling, the world spinning. Then her emergency chute deployed. The jerk nearly tore her shoulder. Claire screamed. Ranger yelped, but they were alive. Below them the ocean spread wide. And far behind, her jet exploded again midair and vanished in smoke. Claire stared, heart pounding. Someone tried to kill her in training airspace, on home territory. Meaning, this wasn't a mistake. This was a message. Then the wind shifted violently. Her chute cords tangled. Claire's body twisted awkwardly. Her ankle snapped with a sickening pop. She cried out and almost blacked out. The world blurred. The sea rose toward her like a mouth. Ranger barked wildly, trying to climb up her shoulder. Hold on, Claire gasped. Then, splay awash. The ocean swallowed them, cold like death. Claire went under. The chute cords wrapped around her leg like a rope. She struggled, but her ankle screamed. She tried to kick upward, but couldn't. Her lungs burned. Panic filled her like water. Ranger, still strapped to her chest, began fighting. He twisted, bit the cord, tugged hard like he'd been trained for combat rescue. Tug, snap, the cord loosened. Claire felt herself rise slightly. Ranger didn't stop. He tore at the straps until Claire's body shifted free. Claire kicked weakly. Her head broke the surface. She gasped, choking, coughing, spitting seawater. Her eyes found the sky that betrayed her. She looked at Ranger. His paws paddled furiously. He stayed close, refusing to drift away. Claire's voice cracked. "You saved me! You actually saved me!" Ranger licked her cheek. Then he turned his head toward the horizon, barked. Claire squinted. Through the waves, she saw it. A fishing boat. Small, wooden, human. Hope. Claire lifted her arm weakly. "Help!" she cried. The waves swallowed her voice. She raised it again. "I'm here." Ranger barked louder. And on that boat, a figure stood up suddenly. A man pointing. Then the boat turned and began rushing toward them. Claire's eyes filled with tears. Not tears of weakness. Tears of moral truth she'd ignored all her life. Old man Hank Doyle had lived his entire life on the Atlantic edge of Maine, where the sea could feed you today and bury you tomorrow. His fishing boat, the Mercy Jane, rocked through the chop, nets heavy with the morning's catch. The air was salty, cold, and quiet until the sky exploded. A deep boom rolled over the water. Caleb Doyle jerked his head up. "Dad, you hear that?" Before Hank could answer, a black plume of smoke rose above the horizon like a funeral flag. Then came a second sound, metal ripping apart. Eli Parker stood. "That's not thunder." Caleb squinted into the distance. Something fell. Hank's eyes narrowed. His weathered face didn't panic, but his voice lowered. "That's aviation." Caleb turned to him. "Maybe Coast Guard will handle it." Hank didn't blink. "The Coast Guard isn't here." Eli pointed suddenly. "Wait, look. There, on the surface." A small shape rose between the waves. Then another. Caleb's chest tightened. "Is that a person?" Hank stood so fast his knees cracked. "Turn the boat." Caleb hesitated. "Dad, we're not equipped." Hank glared. His voice came out rough like rope. "Turn the boat." Caleb grabbed the controls and spun the wheel. The engine roared louder as they headed for the moving speck. As the boat closed in, the speck became a woman, floating barely above the surface, weighed down by soaked flight gear, and strapped to her chest. A dog. The dog's head rose and fell with every wave. his paws thrashing like he refused to let the sea claim them. "Dear God," Eli whispered. Captain Claire Mitchell didn't even look alive. Her face was pale and blue around the lips. Blood mixed with ocean water along her jawline. Hank leaned over the edge, shouting, "Hey, can you hear me?" No response. The dog barked once, sharp and desperate. Then he growled. Caleb threw a rope out. "Grab it! Grab it!" Claire's hand drifted toward it, but missed by inches. Eli cursed. "She's done." Hank grabbed the gaff hook, twisted it, and used it to snag the harness strap without harming her. "Hold steady." Hank barked. Caleb braced while Hank pulled. The dog snarled, baring teeth at Hank as if he thought these men were the final threat. Hank spoke softly. "Easy, boy, easy. We're not taking her from you. We're bringing her back." The dog's eyes were wild, fear mixed with loyalty. He didn't stop growling. Eli leaned in carefully, palms open. Good boy, we're gonna help." The dog's gaze flicked between their hands and Claire's face. Then, slowly, as if making a decision, he stopped growling. Not calm, just allowing. That was enough. They dragged Claire over the edge of the boat. Her body collapsed on the deck like a fallen flag. She didn't move. Her dog climbed onto her chest immediately and whined, nudging her face with his nose. Caleb crouched. "She's freezing." Hank pressed 2 fingers to her neck. His face tightened. Pulses weak. Eli grabbed a wool blanket and threw it over her. Caleb cursed under his breath. "We should have stayed back. This would get us killed." Hank's eyes snapped at him. "Son, do you think the sea will spare you later if you ignore a dying woman today?" Caleb swallowed. The words hit hard because they were true. Hank placed his jacket under Claire's head. "Eli, warm water. Now." Eli ran to a thermos. "I got coffee. Anything warm." Eli poured a little into his palm, rubbing it on Claire's lips. Claire coughed, barely. Then she vomited water. The dog barked, tail twitching with frantic hope. Hank leaned close. "Breathe. Come on, girl. Come back." Claire's eyelids fluttered. And then her eyes opened slightly. They were gray-blue, stormy, disoriented. Her lips trembled. "Our ranger?" The dog whined and licked her chin. Claire's face softened for half a second, like she could feel him even through death. "Good boy," she whispered. Eli exhaled. "She's awake." Claire blinked. Her gaze struggled to focus on Hank. "Where am I?" Hank answered calmly. "On a fishing boat. You're safe." Claire tried to sit up, but gasped in pain. "My ankle." Caleb lifted the blanket slightly, saw swelling and bruising already blooming. "Yeah, it's bad." Claire's eyes darted to the horizon. My jet went down." Eli glanced back at the smoke trail, still faint in the sky. "We saw it." Claire's breathing increased. "That wasn't an accident." Hank studied her. "How do you know?" Claire coughed, voice hoarse. "Training airspace. Missile lock. No comms. Another aircraft too close. Like it wanted me gone." Caleb's jaw tightened. "Who would do that?" Claire whispered like the truth scared her. "Someone who doesn't want what I saw to be found." Eli frowned. "What did you see?" Claire stared at the sea as if she could see the explosion replaying inside the waves. "I saw a black craft. Not ours. Not civilian. It moved like it knew my route." Hank's expression darkened. Then Caleb yelled from the back of the boat, pointing. "Look!" A piece of twisted metal floated nearby. Not normal debris. Too clean, too engineered. A sleek panel with strange markings. Claire's eyes widened. Her voice dropped. "That's not for my jet." She tried to reach it. Hank stopped her gently. "Don't move." Claire's chest rose. "You don't understand. That might be the reason they hit me." Caleb looked nervous now. "Dad, we should throw it back." Hank shook his head slowly. "No." Caleb frowned. "No." Hank's voice hardened. "If evil throws something at your door, you don't pretend you didn't see it. You learn what it is, and you protect the innocent." Eli swallowed. "So, what do we do?" Hank looked at the shore ahead. "We get her to land." Claire's eyes filled with tears she didn't allow herself to shed. "Thank you," she whispered. Hank leaned close enough for her to hear. "Don't thank us yet, Captain." Claire blinked weakly. "How do you know I'm Air Force?" Hank nodded toward her gear. "And the dog. Only the military straps a dog like that." Then he added in a low voice, "And only the military makes enemies that chase you into the sea." Claire tightened her grip around Ranger. The sea rocked the boat forward, and somewhere behind them, something else moved through the water. Silent, watching. The fishing village wasn't on any tourist map. A scattered line of weather-beaten shacks, creaking docks, and boats tied like tired horses. The kind of place the world forgot until it needed something. Hank carried Claire into his own home, a small wooden cabin smelling of fish oil and old prayers. Claire groaned as her ankles shifted. Ranger stayed pressed against her side like a shield. Eli lit a lantern and set it on the table. The light made shadows move like ghosts. Caleb paced, restless. "We should call 911. Claire's hand reached instinctively for her radio, then remembered it was gone. Her eyes filled with rage. "I need to contact base. Immediately." Hank nodded. "We don't got fancy comms, but there's a satellite phone at the harbor office." Caleb frowned. "Dad, no. If what she's saying is real, bringing military heat here is dangerous." Hank's face didn't soften. "Dangerous is letting enemies walk free." Claire pushed herself upright despite pain. "Someone tried to assassinate me in U.S. airspace. That means this is bigger than me. Bigger than all of us." Ranger growled softly, ears rotating toward the door like he heard something. Claire noticed. "Ranger?" Caleb scoffed. "Dog's probably stressed." But Ranger wasn't stressed. He was detecting. Then Eli burst into the cabin, breathless. "Hank, Caleb, there's a boat coming." Caleb froze. "Coast Guard." Eli shook his head. "No, it's not painted like any rescue vessel. It's black, fast." Claire's blood turned cold. That same tight feeling from the cockpit returned. She forced herself up. Pain exploded in her ankle, but she bit down a scream. "No," she whispered. They followed. Hank grabbed a rifle from the wall. Old, but still deadly. "Get behind me." Caleb swore. "Dad, this is insane." Hank stared at him. "Son, when the wolf comes to the village, you don't argue with a shepherd." Outside, the sound of black boat grinding against shore cut through the night. Footsteps, not stumbling fisherman steps. Boots, purposeful, heavy. A knock came, not polite. A warning knock. Bam, bam, bam. A man's voice followed, calm and cruel. "Open up." Claire whispered to Hank. "Don't." Ranger's growl deepened, vibrating like thunder under fur. Hank raised his rifle. "Who's there?" The voice answered with false friendliness. "Friends." Claire scoffed. "Friends don't come armed at night." Caleb's eyes widened. "How do you know they're armed?" Claire whispered. "Listen." Silence. A shift, metal against metal, like a weapon being adjusted. Claire's entire body tensed. She grabbed a fishing knife from the table. It wasn't military steel, but it could cut. The door handle twisted. Hank shouted, "Don't!" The door burst open. 3 men stepped in wearing dark, tactical gear, their faces masked. One carried a suppressed rifle like it belonged there. The leader's eyes locked on Claire. "Captain Claire Mitchell," he said smoothly. "Impressive survival." Claire's voice turned sharp. "Who are you?" The leader smiled under the mask. You could hear in the tone. "Let's not waste time." His gaze slid to Ranger. "And the dog." Claire's grip tightened. "Leave him out of this." The leader shrugged. "We can't. Your dog is evidence." Hank stepped forward, rifle aimed. "Evidence of what?" The man looked at Hank like he was an inconvenience. "Old man, I don't want to harm you." Hank replied, voice like gravel. "Then turn around and go." The leader sighed. "Not possible." He raised his rifle slightly. Caleb jumped in front of Hank. "This is America. You can't just..." The leader cut him off coldly. "I can do whatever I want. There are no cameras here." Claire's stomach dropped. Then she saw it. A patch on the leader's shoulder. Not military. Not police. A private contract symbol. That meant mercenaries. Claire's jaw clenched. You're here for the black box. The leader nodded. And the drone fragment. Claire's eyes widened. So it was a drone. The leader smiled. You're smart. That's why you're dangerous. Hank hissed. Get out. The leader's patience ended. He snapped his fingers. Two men moved. One stepped toward Claire. Ranger exploded. Like a missile made of fur. He leapt, teeth flashing, slamming into the mercenary's arm. The man screamed. The rifle fell and skidded across the floor. Caleb grabbed it instantly. Dad. Chaos erupted. Eli swung in, or like a baseball bat, cracking it into one mercenary's ribs. Hank fired his rifle upward, bang. A warning shot that made dust rain from the ceiling. Leave. Hank roared. The leader drew a handgun. Claire lunged toward him on her injured ankle, screaming through pain, and slammed the knife forward. It cut his side. Not deep, but enough. The leader staggered back, furious. You. He raised the gun at her head. Claire froze. Her world narrowed. Ranger barked wildly. Hank tried to aim, but the leader was faster. Then, a roar shook the sky. A helicopter spotlight blasted the cabin like daylight. A loudspeaker boomed so powerfully the walls vibrated. Drop your weapons. This is the United States Air Force. The mercenaries froze. The leader cursed. Move. He ran. His men scrambled after him. Caleb chased the door, raising the rifle, but Hank grabbed his arm. No, let the Air Force handle that. Outside boots thundered. Real boots now. Military. Claire's breath shook. She collapsed into a chair, trembling. She looked at Hank, voice cracking. They came for him, she whispered, stroking Ranger's head. Hank nodded grimly. Because he saved you. Claire's eyes burned. And because he knows something. She leaned forward as the helicopter hovered overhead. Her voice turned hard like steel. That missile didn't come from nowhere. Hank stared at her. Claire finished the sentence slowly. Someone inside opened the door. The hospital smelled like bleach and fresh bandages. Claire hated hospitals. They reminded her of weakness. But today, she didn't feel weak. She felt reborn. Her ankle was wrapped in thick white plaster. Her shoulder had stitches. Her body hurt in places she hadn't even noticed during the crash. But she was alive. And Ranger sat beside her bed like a disciplined soldier on guard duty. His eyes followed every movement in the room. A nurse smiled. He hasn't left your side once. Claire whispered, brush his fur. He's the reason I'm breathing. Two Air Force officers entered. Behind them came the man Claire knew too well. Colonel Richard Hayes, her commanding officer. He stopped at the doorway like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Mitchell, he said quietly. Claire straightened with effort. Sir. Hayes walked closer. Eyes sharp. You should be dead. Claire's gaze didn't break. They wanted me dead. Hayes nodded slowly. We recovered debris. Drone fragment. And... Captain. He leaned in. That was not a training accident. Claire let out a bitter laugh. I know. Hayes pulled a chair up. You were targeted. Claire's hands tightened. By who? Hayes hesitated, which was rare. We don't know yet. But what we do know is someone spoofed your training airspace clearance. Someone shut down your comms. Someone made sure you couldn't call for help. Claire whispered. An insider. Hayes nodded. Yes. Claire's heart pounded. Then she remembered Hank's voice. War doesn't always begin with a gun. Hayes cleared his throat. There's more. Claire's eyes narrowed. What? Hayes looked at Ranger. Your dog. Claire instantly wrapped her arm around Ranger like he was a child. What about him? Hayes spoke carefully. That dog saved your life. Those mercenaries wanted him for a reason. Claire's voice sharpened. Because he tore through the chute cord. He freed me. Hayes leaned forward. And because he may have bitten into a GPS tag strap on that drone fragment, which may now contain saliva and trace DNA. Evidence. Claire froze. Then she whispered, "So, Ranger isn't just my dog." Hayes nodded. "He's part of the investigation." Claire swallowed, emotion rising. Ranger wagged his tail slightly, as if he didn't understand the stakes, only that his human was safe. A knock came. A military aide entered. "Sir, the fishermen are here." Claire's eyes snapped up. "Bring them in." Hayes blinked. "Captain, they're civilians." "I said bring them in." Hayes stared at her for a moment, then nodded. The door opened again. Old man Hank walked in first, wearing his best jacket, still smelling faintly of sea and smoke. Behind him was Caleb, stiff like he didn't know how to stand in a hospital full of soldiers. Eli followed, eyes wide, nervous. They looked like they didn't belong, like the world of uniforms and medals wasn't meant for men with fishing scars. Claire's throat tightened. She shifted her body, wincing. The nurse moved forward to help her sit. Then Claire pushed the nurse's hand away. She stood, on her broken ankle. Pain stabbed through her like electricity. But she didn't care, because respect sometimes demands discomfort. Hank's eyes widened. "Miss, don't." Claire raised her right hand sharply. A perfect military salute. The entire room fell silent. Colonel Hayes straightened instinctively. Even the nurses paused. Claire looked directly at Hank. Her voice shook with truth. "In the Air Force, we honor courage." Hank stared like he hadn't heard the words in decades. Claire continued, "I've flown missions over hostile territory. I've faced fire." She glanced at Caleb and Eli. "But none of that means anything if 3 fishermen can risk their lives for a stranger while the sky tries to bury her." Caleb swallowed hard. Eli's eyes watered. Hank stepped forward slowly. "Captain, we only did what human beings are supposed to do." Claire's eyes filled with tears. "That's the problem," she whispered. "So many people don't anymore." Hayes cleared his throat. "Mr. Doyle, on behalf of the United States Air Force, we thank you." Hank nodded. "No thanks needed. We didn't save her because she's Air Force." He looked at Claire with gentle firmness. "We saved her because she's somebody's daughter." Claire's tears fell. Not shameful tears. Healing tears. She looked down at Ranger, her voice breaking into a smile. "And this soldier—" Ranger barked once like he understood he was being praised. Hayes pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it, revealing a metal dog tag, engraved. "Ranger, Rescue K9 Honor Citation." Hayes knelt and clipped it onto Ranger's collar. "This dog is now officially recognized by the United States Air Force of bravery in life-saving action." Ranger wagged his tail and barked. Everyone laughed softly through tears. Then Hank spoke one last line that stayed in Claire's soul forever. "The sky tests courage." He pointed faintly toward the window where ocean waves could be seen far away. "But the sea tests character." Claire nodded slowly. She didn't just survive a crash. She survived betrayal. And she learned something the military never taught. Heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they smell like salt. And sometimes they have 4 legs and a heart that refuses to quit. Claire sat back down, Ranger's head on her lap, and outside, the sea kept rolling, quiet, eternal, like it was saying, "Not today." Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment thank you.